Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today we're taking a classic side dish and loading it up for Thanksgiving. I know your family's gonna love it. We're gonna need green beans, and I want y'all to notice this because somebody's gonna notice it anyway. There are actually two different sizes of green beans in here. There's the regular cut green beans and there's Italian green beans. So the reason for that is when I went to the pantry, I had 2 cans of Italian green beans and 2 cans of regular green beans. And you're gonna say, well, why didn't you just run up to the store and get 2 cans of the same size so that you could do 4 cans of the same size green bean? And I will tell you why. Because I am not the only one that does not check what's in my pantry before I start to cook. And I want y'all to know that you can make adjustments as you go. Now, if you go on the website, you're gonna get the recipe that's perfect. The pictures are beautiful most of the time. And everything looks right because I sit down to write that. I take my pictures and I make sure that it just really looks good because I can't explain to anybody what's going on with that. They're gonna take it at face value. But y'all get a little different side of me and a little different side of how I cook. And one of the big things is when I make mistakes or I have to adjust something, I try to actually leave it in the video unless it's a really big deal, because I want you to know that you can make adjustments as you go. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't, if you don't have 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, you can use 1 can of cream of mushroom soup and 1 can of cream of celery soup. So get that in your mind that when you're cooking, it doesn't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to go. So we have 2 different sizes of green beans, and let me tell you, once somebody bites into this casserole, nobody is gonna care. So green beans, I use canned. You can use fresh if you want, but as far as I'm concerned, a classic green bean casserole has the crispy fried onions and the canned soup and all of it. So you do you. So we also need the crispy fried onions. I do make these homemade a lot of the time. I have a recipe for them on the blog, and there may even be a video for them. I'll check. But they are so good, whether you can use them whether you make them homemade or not, but definitely if you have time, try the homemade ones because they're delicious. We're gonna need crumbled up bacon, ranch seasoning, 1 packet, cream cheese, cheddar cheese grated from a block. And the reason that we always grate from the block is that the grated cheese that you buy in the store has a cellulose dust on it to keep the pieces of cheese from sticking together. And it keeps it from melting really well. So when we want to get a really good melty cheese, we always grate it from the block. If you want to use the pre-grated stuff, use that for like the top of salads or something that's tacos, something that's cold that you don't need it to melt on, okay? 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup and 1 cup of buttermilk. And that will do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and grate this cheese and then I'll be back. Okay, I've grated the cheese, so I've got that. I'm gonna set that over here for a minute. I've moved the green beans into this bowl. So we got a new rescue dog about 3 weeks ago, some of you guys know. And we kind of live in the country and people drop dogs off on our street, and several families on the street just adopt the dogs. I really hate it, makes me mad, but what are you gonna do? So anyway, we ended up with an extra dog, and my kids have absconded with all of my mixing bowls for dog food and water. So I was like, how am I gonna do this? Because I didn't know I didn't have bowls. So I went and got my other bowl and moved everything to that. So that's why we changed bowls, because of a dog. But he's real sweet and he's starting to fatten up and I think he's gonna work. All right, so, okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna spray a 13 by 9 inch pan with no stick cooking spray and set that aside. Next, you're gonna take the soup and put it in the bowl. Just like that, and then so this is gonna be the sauce. And I think a lot of times green bean casserole only calls for 1 can of soup. I honestly can't remember. If you like the classic green bean casserole, there's a recipe for that on my site as well. And I think there's also a video for that. But this one is so good that you really, it's like the difference between a really nice car and then getting into a limo. It's crazy. So 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and then we're going to add our buttermilk to that. Gives it a really kind of a tangy flavor that's really just delicious. And then just whisk that until it's good and smooth. You want all of the buttermilk to be added in and whisked in, blended in, whatever word it is I'm looking for, to the cream of mushroom soup. Okay, that's all nice and smooth. And now we're going to add the cream cheese. And the cream cheese is cubed just so that it melts easy, because this whole thing is going to go in the microwave. It's got a few pieces of the grated cheese stuck to it, but that's fine. All right, I'm going to take this and microwave it in 20 to 30-second intervals until it's soft and I can whisk it into the rest of the ingredients smoothly. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. It's kind of hard to see if all the cream cheese is melted in because it's lumpy because of the mushrooms, but once you don't have any big chunks in there, you're going to be fine. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to stir in 1 cup of the cheddar cheese, or thereabouts, and the packet of ranch dressing. Stir that right in until it's, oh, it smells so good. Stir that right in. The cheese doesn't need to melt. At this point, it's going to melt in the oven, so don't worry about that. Just make sure it's stirred in evenly. I also want to say, be careful about your salt. You might even want to get the unsalted or sodium-free green beans. The ranch dressing has plenty of salt in it, so you don't really need any extra salt here. And just to let you know, now we're going to pour this over the green beans, or you can pour the green beans over this, but since this bowl is bigger, I'm going to do it this way. And then just stir that right in. You want to stir the green beans in there really well. Once I get the green beans kind of stirred in, I go ahead and I'm going to stir the bacon in. Doesn't that look good? I mean, anything with that much bacon in it has got to be delicious, right? And this is. It's so good. I always thought I was just partial to regular green bean casserole until I tasted this. It was crazy. It's so creamy because of the combination of the buttermilk and the cream cheese, and cheesy, and then a little smoky from the bacon. It's just so good. Okay, once all of the green beans are covered and the bacon is all covered with your sauce, then you're going to put it in the 13 by 9 inch pan. Spread it out so it's nice and even. Just like that. Now, what I like to do at this point that is not in the recipe is we like pepper a lot in our family. So I usually add a good couple of grinds of pepper, just to make sure that there's enough pepper in there. Once we do that, we're just going to top it with the remaining cheese. And do the cheese first. You know, the crispy fried onions are going on after. Do the cheese first. It just works better that way. And you want that as even as possible without being too much of a perfectionist about it. And then the onions. And once these are on there, we're going to put it in the oven. We're going to bake it at 350 degrees for 30 minutes, just until the casserole is heated through and the cheese is melted. If you have an instant read thermometer, and if you don't, I suggest you get one, you can test anything that you're baking with that thermometer to make sure that it's done. Like, it's perfect for pecan pie because you can put the thermometer in there and you'll know that it's done. You don't have to worry about whether it jiggles or whether it doesn't and all of that. And with casseroles, it should be 165 degrees on the instant read thermometer. It will be perfect that way. It won't be overcooked or undercooked. It'll be just right. So I'll see y'all in about 30 minutes. Here we go, y'all. It is just come out of the oven, like literally just come out of the oven. I haven't let it set yet, but I want to check the temperature and make sure that it's at our 165. Sometimes you need to give them a few more minutes in the oven, but I think this one is going to hit it. Yep. In fact, it's a little over 165, so it's ready to go. I always like to let them sit for about 5 minutes so that the cheese and the sauce can firm up a little bit and it's not just a big splat all over the plate. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back and we'll take a look. Okay, y'all, let's, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm trying to decide if when I serve it, I want to garnish it with a few little pieces of fresh thyme, like that, or if I just want to sprinkle the fresh thyme on it. And I think I'm just going to sprinkle the fresh thyme on it. And if you've not used like fresh thyme before, the leaves are a little tiny, and all you need to do is pull down the stem just like that, and then sprinkle the leaves on top. It adds a little flavor, but mainly it adds a little color. And one of the things about casseroles is that they're just brown, and they just need that little pop of color to make them look finished, I think. So if you don't want to do that, don't worry about it. But if you do, that's how and why. Okay, I think that's probably plenty. Now, let's dig into this thing. All right, here we go. Oh, by the way, you might hear my husband in the background. I've heard him a couple of times yell at the dog, or not yell at him, but tell him no, because the dog is not quite used to living in a house. He was severely abused, and so he's still a puppy, so he gets in trouble once in a while. Look at how creamy that is. In fact, let me put the plate up close so that you guys can see all of this good creaminess that's happening here. And I noticed that I talked real soft right about then. Oh, doesn't that look good? It's creamy, it's steaming hot, it's cheesy, just so good. That right there is pure Thanksgiving deliciousness on a dish. Y'all, it's not that difficult to take a classic and update it to be even better. So if you like things over the top, this casserole, this green bean casserole, is what you want to try. So cheesy, so saucy, so good. It's going to be perfect for Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and Saturdays, anytime you want to have it. So that's it for this week. I love y'all. I hope you'll come back next week. I hope you'll try this casserole because it is amazing. And don't forget to subscribe. All the recipe and all of the links and stuff are down below. And yeah, that's it. So love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all next week. And Emmy and Decky, I hope you had a good time in New Hampshire, guys. Love you.